I think it takes sometimes being a veteran leader to realize you don't have to always have the answer right away. That's something I started doing a little bit later in my career. I wish I had done sooner. You've got to be organized. You've got to do what you say you're going to do. I think it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to say, I may need some help on this.
Hey everybody, it's Pat Cohan here with the THSADA Director's Cut Hall of Honor series, and we're joined by Leslie Slovak. Over a 30-year career in one district, Leslie built a reputation as a leader who put people first, developing coaches, empowering student athletes, and helping shape programs that impacted an entire community. In this episode, we talk about her journey from coach to athletic director, the responsibility of hiring and mentoring coaches, why staying connected to student athletes mattered so much to her, and the leadership lessons she learned along the way. Special thanks goes out to LED Partners for making this beautiful setup. It's a mobile setup on wheels, was able to put it together in less than 90 minutes, and we were up and running. So if you're looking for a mobile display at your next event, check out LED Partners. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this THSADA Director's Cut. Leslie, you and I have gotten to hang out at all these shows. You've been the THSADA president. You've had numerous roles. So it's been a pleasure to work with you. And I'm so happy that you've made it into the Hall of Honor. Well-deserved. But let's go back to Leslie, the athlete. What were you like on the court? Volleyball was your main sport, but you played all sports. What was your mentality like?
I was always an intense competitor, hated to lose. But my memories, I think back and I think that I was a good teammate. I sure hope I was because I felt like being a part of a team was super special. And so it was important to me to lead by example, not just be a vocal leader, but always be on time. And I just always wanted to be the hardest worker. I think there were times where I may not be the best athlete in the gym, but I wanted to be the hardest worker. And so that was important to me, holding each other accountable and just being that leader and that mentor and almost a coach on the court was important to me at a very, very young age. And I really cherished that opportunity and just loved to compete and hated to lose.
Now, is that nurture or nature though? People always talk about leadership and, can you actually build it and so on and so forth. But what you're talking about and your mentality on the court seems like that was just there all the time. Or did somebody in your family or somebody that led you kind of showed you the way there?
I felt like it was always there. I realized real quickly that I just wanted to win at everything, but I also realized like you need to win with class and lose with class. And so I really felt like at a young age, I recognized sportsmanship and the importance of it. But I think back to my brother and I, we created this game called Interception. And as soon as my dad got home, he could barely have time to change clothes. And he's out in the front yard throwing a football to us. One's the receiver, one's the DB, and we're keeping score. And I mean, it was intense. Or a game of horse on the basketball court. And so it's always been something just that's in my just nature to, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to be all in. And I even think back to, even at state conference when we're having the bowling tournament, it's like, that's important. And people are like, you take this seriously? I'm like, yes, I am. I'm the captain of our team and we're going to go out here and we're going to win this thing. And I just have always had that mentality. If you're going to do something, let's be all in.
And you were all in at Richardson ISD. You were there for 30 years as a coach and then as a athletic administrator.
Right.
What about your career is unique? Okay, I get to interview a lot of athletic administrators here, and you always kind of hear like, yep, and then I went here, and then I went here. But what was something that is special to your story?
I think probably what's unique is that you don't see many people anymore stay in one place for 30 years. And I just always felt like it was home. I never felt the need to look to go somewhere else. We decided to raise our family there and our kids are in the school district. And it was just the people I work with became family. I couldn't imagine leaving. But there's also something to be said about your bosses. And, Jeannie Stone gave me an opportunity to be the AD, forever grateful for that, and people that believe in you. And then after her, current superintendent Tabitha Branham she's so pro-athletic and she wants to say yes to all these ideas I have and this list of things that we need and resources. And she always said yes when she could. And the reason that I stayed is that I had bosses that felt like extracurricular activities were important. And that was important to me. I never felt like I needed to leave to go find somewhere else where I was valued or our programs were valued, because I felt that every day. And a lot of people can't say that. Also, it was family. I think of just colleagues in Richardson ISD that are not even in the athletic department that are forever friends. And when you find that, it's special and you want to stay. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm blessed. I know that that's not the norm. And I know that I was given this incredible opportunity to stay in one place for my entire career. And that's something that it's hard to put into words what that means.
And for those that are in a position, maybe they've done a really good job of building that community, and maybe they're getting an opportunity to go somewhere else, how would you maybe advise them to evaluate that opportunity to make sure that they're not just going to go just to move?
Right. I think that there's something to be said about do your research and really think through, is this going to be a place where I can make an impact? And I can make an impact on coaches and kids. Because if you're chasing a title or chasing an increase in salary, and you're not really looking at every aspect of how important is extracurricular, how important, what are the resources? Have they passed a bond? Do they consistently pass bonds each year? There's a lot of signs that show you if athletics is important to a district and to a school board and to a superintendent. So I would say do your research and be careful about chasing titles and chasing money. I just don't think that at the end of the day is going to be what makes you happy. You need to find a place where you can pour into coaches and kids, where you can feel valued and where you can make a difference.
I've never actually got to work with you in an office setting. So what is Leslie like in the office? Like, are you a bulldog at the conference table, or are you more of super organized? Like, what was your leadership style?
Wow. I think that's a great question. And I feel like that's would be a better question for other people. I'm really not sure. I think there were times where I had all these great ideas, but I wasn't sure how to get it done. So I was always leaning on other people I have this idea, I want to create this program, but how do we get it done? And so I think part of my leadership style is surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you, that have different strengths than you, and then let them work. And not feeling like I've got to be the bigger voice all the time, not feeling like I have all the answers. I think I always had a really good vision of what our kids and coaches needed, but how do you get that done? How do you get that across the finish line? How do you make sure that in a time where public ed's under attack and finance is an issue, how can we be creative? And that's why you surround yourself with people that maybe have some ideas and you listen to them and you get their input. I hope I never came across as the end all or the one that had the best idea. I know longer in my career, the longer I went, the more I sat back and listened to understand instead of listening to respond. And I think it takes sometimes being a veteran leader to realize you don't have to always have the answer right away. It's okay to pause and just gather the information and then try to go back and make a really educated decision or a proposal to your bosses of how can we get this done because our coaches need this or our kids need this. You have to be creative, and sometimes it can't be done right then. And so patience is something that I had to learn. I think it's something that I struggled with because I want what I want, and I want it for kids and I want it for coaches, and that's not how it works. So I watched a lot of good leaders around me, and I watched a lot of people that I work with that were better at that than me. And I just never felt like I was always the best leader in the room or maybe the smartest person in the room, but I did think that I had the vision of surrounding myself with those types of people and letting them work and not micromanage. So I hope that's what people would say, but that's such a great question because self-awareness and self-reflection's hard. And you just hope that people realize that you were in it for the right reasons and it wasn't all about me. I'm not a rah-rah, look at me type person. But also if you're a leader and you're the face of an organization, of a district, of athletic programs, you've got to stand up sometimes and make difficult decisions, and you've got to sometimes be out there and be the face, even when you don't necessarily want that spotlight, but you better embrace it and you better figure it out and surround yourself with people that have similar values that you do.
It kind of goes back to your thesis at the beginning, which was loving to be on teams. And so you're a team builder.
Yes.
Is kind of what I heard.
Yes.
Being able to build those teams to be effective for the communities that you serve. Where do young, maybe gunners or aspiring leaders stumble? You mentioned earlier they talk too fast or they try to get themselves heard too fast.
Right.
But what do you think is missing in the young leaders of today that maybe you had to learn as well?
I think patience, I mentioned. I think that knowing that it's okay to lean on other people, that it's okay to say, I don't know. I think sometimes people...
Is it?
It is. It's okay to say, I'm going to get back to you on that, and I need a little time to look into that. We live in a society where everybody wants an answer right now. And you can go to your phone and you can Google anything, you can use AI, and you get instant answers. I think as leaders, you're making a mistake if you give an answer too quick. You have not taken time to gather all the information. There's two sides to every story. I think it's okay to say, you know what, I need a little bit of time to do some research, and I'm going to get back to you on this. But the key is follow up. Don't tell someone you're going to get back to them and not follow up. Do what you say you're going to do. I've always said, be who you were in the interview. If you say that I'm going to follow up, if you say that I will get back to you and you're going to return that phone call and you're going to give them an answer, then follow through. And I think sometimes young administrators, they're drowning because it's just so much and it's so heavy. So I think you've got to be organized. You've got to do what you say you're going to do. So don't tell someone you're going to give them an answer at this time, or don't just make up something. Just slow down. That would be my advice. Slow down, take a deep breath, surround yourself with people that have been through it before and lean on them, because you don't have to have all the answers that very second. And I think that as a young administrator, when I sat in the audience and I looked at these people who were being inducted in the Hall of Honor and these people that I admired, I thought they had it all figured out. But when you peel back the layers and you get to know them, they'll be the first to tell you, man, I struggled with that. I struggled with that decision, or I struggled with that hard conversation, or I'm glad I can network and reach out to so-and-so because they went through it. Not every person in a leadership role has it all figured out. I feel like if they say they do, then that's probably not the truth. And I think it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to say, I may need some help on this.
And you mentioned earlier the THSADA and being in the Hall of Honor ceremony so many times and seeing these great leaders. You've actually been a part, you actually have been mentored by one of the greatest leaders the THSADA has ever had, with Bob Doobie, and an instrumental part of building the current THSADA we see today. So what context do you have, based on your proximity to Bob, on how this association has grown to be what it is today? Almost 2,000 members across the state, an amazing staff.
Yeah, I remember being a young assistant AD, and every time the president changed, that president had to help work with wherever the host city was for the state conference, and you had to have all these committees to put on this state conference. There was not a THSADA staff. There was not an executive director at that time. So that was difficult. And we were not as big as we are now, but you still had all these people working really hard to put on an event. But at the same time, they were trying to be an AD or an assistant AD back at their district. So the quality of what we did, it was good at the time, and we thought it was good. But wow, we've come a long way. And I'm so glad that Bob had that vision of, there's got to be a better way. There was a better way. And now you look at what Rusty has done, and Bob and Johanna and Jody and the entire staff. And, once you're on the board and you serve on the board, you see behind the scenes the amount of hours they put in and what they do to provide opportunities for young administrators. It's incredible. I would have loved to have had these opportunities as a young assistant AD when you're sitting there and you're first time and you're at one of these conferences, and there was not a JAMS program, there was not a Quad A, there was not this mentorship. I mean, we had great sessions, but it was put together by the host district, and there's a lot of people that have retired, and now we have these new leaders that they don't know anything but this. And they think this is what it's always been. And there was a time where it was very, very different. And we've grown. And now I'm so proud. I'm just so proud of our organization. And it's going to keep getting better and better. We're all replaceable. And so there's this new group of athletic administrators coming up, and they've gone through Quad A and they've gone through JAMS, and they come to all these sessions and they go to regional meetings, and they're going to be better equipped than we were probably to lead, obviously. And so that's really fun to see. And, serving on the board with people like, I think about Andre, and I think about Philip O'Neill. And when you're on the board and you're in that president role and you get to meet people like that and watch them lead, and then side by side sit with them in a meeting and talk about how can we be better, how can we grow. It's fun to see. And it's that behind the scenes that I realized I've always loved. I like the behind the scenes. It's probably one of the best parts of being an assistant AD is you're more behind the scenes. But it's the same thing when you're on the board. You're kind of behind the scenes watching Rusty and that staff just do what they do. And it's incredible. And so we're just in a really great place. And I know I'm leaving and I'm moving on and doing other things, but I'm still trying to stay somewhat involved and aware of what they're doing. And I'm so proud, just so proud of where we were and where we are now. And I say we because I feel like I'm always going to be a part of this organization and this family. And it's just fun. It's fun and exciting to see just the growth.
You talk about family, and that's kind of the big initiative you're in now. Not to say you didn't prioritize your family throughout your career. Now you're spending a lot more time trying to be present with your family. For the men or women that have young families in athletic administration, what little tidbits or piece of advice or maybe things that people gave you that helped you manage having a family in such a chaotic and time-intensive industry?
Right. I don't think I was really good at the work-life balance. Like I don't have these great tips that say this is the way you should do it, because I'm very self-aware that I didn't do that really, really well. I tried, but there were times where I would get home and my tank was empty. I had left it all at work. And so there was not much left to give my family that night. I was just exhausted, because you're working so many hours and you're dealing with personnel issues and hiring and firing and making changes, and it weighs on you. So I would say just be self-aware, because I think it was hard for me. It took me a while to realize that my tank is empty, and my health suffered from it for a while. And it was a wake-up call of, okay, I've got to take better care of myself. You can't pour from an empty tank. And I've said this at different conferences I've talked to in different regional meetings. It's like, you need to take care of you. Now, what does that look like? You've got to carve out some time for you. Is that working out early in the morning because that's the only time you can get it in? That's something that helped me. Is it sitting in front of your house finishing that phone call before you walk in the house so you can be 100% present? That's something I started doing a little bit later in my career. I wish I had done sooner. But, to put the phone away and be fully present when you're an AD, there are going to be crisis, and there's going to be a superintendent. There's going to be, your bosses are going to need to get a hold of you. And so I felt like I had a job where I had to have my phone out and I had to be available at all times. So it's hard, because I truly believe that that's the role an AD needs to be available for. There's a few people that you've got to pick up that phone for. But at the same time, there's got to be a way to look at it and say, how can I still be more present for my family? and I was never really, really great at it. Which I think is one of the reasons I probably retired a little earlier than maybe I would have thought. But I have an opportunity now to go sit in the stands and watch my son play baseball or play football, and I'm not in charge of the event, and I can be truly mom and be all in. And so I'm taking advantage of that. But I think at the end of the day, you have to put your family first, and being an AD and putting your family first is really hard. And I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's just hard. And so you've got to figure out a balance, a rhythm maybe that works for you, because it's hard. And I wish I had the perfect answer, but I was not a great example of that. And that's why I'm so appreciative to my family. They showed me a lot of grace, and now I have a chance to, flip the page and go into this new chapter where I'm definitely, more present and available. And so it's hard, but that's such a great question. And I think we could do a whole conference and session on work-life balance.
You gave a lot of, I mean, tips in terms of what you did at the latter part of your career.
Right.
And just like you said earlier, self-awareness, acknowledging that these things are hard.
Yes.
Because that opens up the opportunity for conversations to have with your family. So I think, you've weathered the storm of 30 years of education-based athletics, which not many people do. And you've done it with grace, and you've done it as a leader all the way up to the association's president. So it's been really fun to follow your career and to work alongside you in some projects and to see the impact that you've had in your community, but then also around and also with athletic administrators across the state. So Leslie, you've done a great job.
Thank you.
And it's been an honor to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor to just be a part of an organization where your impact, you hope, really at the end of the day is about kids. And I know that that's what this organization is doing. They're pouring into coaches and athletic administrators so that at the end of the day, our kids have a better experience. And so I just appreciate everything you have done as well. And it's been an honor. So thank you.